when you go to Peru, Peru has a lot of mines. They've also tried to deal with it to an extent. When you go to Brazil, they also have been able to deal with that to an extent. You know, there is nowhere in this world that you will find a foreigner come and wield so much power and authority over the land that belongs to the people. We have been told when we were young that the custodians of the land are the chiefs, the traditional rulers. They own the land of this country. The land belongs to them, such that even when you buy a land, it is leased to you. You don't own any land that you buy. It's leased to you over a period of time. Many years ago, it was 99 years. Now it's reduced to almost about 66 years. And then afterwards, your children will come and be paying all of those service fees that they need to pay. My recommendations are very simple to the government. The government needs to be very firm. The government needs to cause arrest of people. The government needs to try people. Obviously, some thoughts that we had when we were in government and were proposing seemed to be over the board because...
What thoughts were those?
Oh, you recall that people are destroying water bodies. People are losing their lives. Children are being born deformed. There were medical research that stated that the level of cyanide that was going into the water bodies were destroying lives and livelihoods. So children are born with no hands, no legs, all of those. And the data that Daryl has put together is also much more scary. People were suggesting shoot and kill. Yes. And so those were a bit overboard because obviously the shoot and kill. It was a bit overboard because obviously it's lives and livelihood, which is why every government needs to look at alternative livelihood program. When I began, I said it's an economy. It's an economy that they do. So you have large-scale mining that is done in a proper way. Then the illegal miners go and more like taking the scraps of what has been done. What do we do? What do we do as a country to ensure that these illegalities do not perpetuate? What do we do as a country to ensure that foreigners that are involved in the acts of illegality are dealt with? Because the young people, the very people in the communities where illegal mining are done may not have the capital to be involved in it. Foreigners come, they appease them with capital, they buy them motorbikes, they buy them all these things, and they take them to the bush. And then they mine. To lose such lives over the years, to see the recklessness with which we are continually destroying the resources that we have in our hands, government after governments must be able to set up a mechanism and state very clearly for the Ghanaian people to understand, because I'm realizing that as a country, when you want to do right, wrong is done to you. As a country, when you want to do right, wrong is done to you. So people will go to an extra end to be able to say that because of the right you are doing, you are going to lose an election. Because we must always remember that every government, whilst they are doing right, is thinking of a next election. So the 4 years that you have an opportunity to govern, by the time you are ending your second year, you are beginning to think. I mean, my senior honorable member in parliament is here. You are beginning to think, my constituency, my votes, am I going to retain or be retained? What's going to happen? My actions and inactions, is it going to come back to haunt me? Okay. So we need a dialogue. All right. I would suggest to the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, to bring a framework together to the government on policy, on how we can be able to deal with this menace. I know that Ghana is mapped up with a lot of minerals. It's not just gold, it's lithium, it's uranium, it's diamond, it's bauxite, it's copper, and all of those minerals. I would see that the National Development Planning Commission brings a strategic plan over a period, maybe a 5-year strategic plan on how we can be able to gradually deal with this menace.
Okay, all right. I'll be going to the phone line, specifically at Zoom, to talk to Dr. Arifo-Drosan. But let me pick your thoughts too. Same question I asked them, whether this is the final straw that will let us realize that we need to sit up.
Yes, so George, of course, I need to use this opportunity. A week ago, today,
I think you were here last week, right?
I was here. Yeah. We barely finished the program. I got to the big house. That's the office of the president. And the mood completely changed. And people were tight-lipped not to come out with the details. But I knew that something was wrong because on social media, names were being floated. To ever imagine that we'll get to this point where we got to lose some of the most valuable assets, human resource base of this country, in a manner that this accident has occurred, I think it will be inexcusable on our part not to take the fight to the hoodlums who are determined, hell-bent on destroying our environment. But on this call, let me use the opportunity to reach out to the families of the bereaved, His Excellency, the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the good people of Ghana. I think that this particular tragedy has the propensity of bringing us to our knees. But we'll be united around a common cause. And I think so far, God has shown his mercies on us. We are getting healed gradually. The steps that are being taken, as it were, for us to be out of the wood are commendable. And I think that we'll emerge out of this stronger than ever. For Dr. Palgrave and I, we will feel very special, sentimental as people like late Dr. Omani Boama and then late Dr. Ibrahim Mutala. These were astute student leaders who were just a bit of a level above us. You know, leadership is about layers and structures. And we learn a lot from them. We take so much inspiration from them. And then to notice that these are people who are in their prime, yet to give up their best to this nation, and were caught up in the line of duty in a manner you wouldn't even wish for your worst enemy. I think that the best legacy we can keep in their memory is to win the fight against this menace called Galamsey. We shall win, and I believe definitely that we will. We will surely win. Our hearts go out to their respective families. Having said that, the discussion about Galamsey is simply about an interplay between the environment, the relevance of the environment, and of course the economy. Whichever you look at it from, we need to win both ways. When people are hungry, when poverty exists, people are likely, to die even out of hunger. Much the same way, you cannot make all the monies in this world and end up polluting your environment thinking that you'll be alive. We exist as human because of quality of air, quality of water, land, and every other thing that is our livelihood. And so gold mining has been a phenomenon that exists with us for a very long time. What has come of recent age has been this very unfortunate trend of illegal mining, where people operate with reckless abandon. They have no regard for terms of operation. They have no regard for the integrity of the environment or the ecology for that matter. I think that gold mining in itself is nothing bad. It is the modus operandi, the manner in which it's being done, in a way that says that they have absolutely no respect for the environment, where our water bodies are now polluted, such that fishes cannot survive. Now, a bowl of kinky, before you get just one fish, it's not easy. What are we doing to ourselves? It has even made cost of living so high, escalated cost of living. I grew up in the village. Those days we live basically on the environment.
Yeah.
Your grandmother will go fetch mushroom, crabs, and a whole lot of things just from the bush nearby. They make your pine nut soup for you, very healthy, well balanced, and you eat. Today, you cannot get those things as a result of the damage you are doing to the environment. And so if you go to the mining areas, even cost of living is so high. I communicated with a friend around Mansour, Edubia area. He says that today, if you want a bunch of plantain, you must come to Galamsey. What is wrong with us? Yes.
Is even confirming that.
What is wrong with us?
Why is it that they're not growing it?
No, the topsoil is what supports production of crops. And they have cleared everything. The farmers, those who are even resistant of this whole thing, they will beat you up, they will scare you, you have no choice. And so what they throw at you is what you must accept. The least said about cocoa production, the better. The EU is now warning us, sending us the red flag that, look, our cocoa beans are gradually being polluted, and pretty soon they won't buy. If you know the amount of capital injection we get, or the foreign exchange earning we get out of cocoa, you realize that the craze, the rush for gold is doing us more harm than good. And so for me, on this occasion, we need to use as a catalyst this particular incident as a turning point, defining moment to say that never shall we tolerate this phenomenon. If we say we do not know those who are engaged in this, then we are being pathetic liars. We know. We all live in the same environment. And the people who are engaging and financing, sponsoring this, they belong to political parties. Some even belong to churches and mosques. Why? And Fridays and Sundays, they go and pray to God and Allah. What's wrong with us? So we must just drop the ostrich mentality and confront this head on in the memory of these people who have fallen in the line of duty and many others who continue to perish silently, as Darrell has said. Look, you have no idea. You have no idea what goes on in the villages. Sometimes when people get drowned, others jubilate because they believe that way they are able to get more gold.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Sometimes the belief is that once someone died in the pit, it's a sacrifice to the gods, and they'll give you more gold. I think that a lot is going on, and we cannot, as a nation, sit unconcerned and expect the needed growth that we expect.
All right, let me go to Zoom and talk to Dr. Eric Odrosine, who speaks on governance issues. Doc, good morning to you.
One thing that we need.
Hello, Doc.
Good morning, George. Good morning, George, and colleague panelists in the studio.
All right, and thank you very much for joining us. Before we move into getting solutions once and for all, my question to the three here when we started is whether the unfortunate incident that happened a week ago is the final straw that will make us sit up as a country, not only for the authorities, but of course for those engaging in such acts. Galamsey.
Thank you very much, George and colleagues. Let me extend my commiserations to the families of the fallen heroes, and to the good people of Ghana, and the president, who is also the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. It is not good news at all. Everybody is not happy. We are not happy about what has happened. I can imagine what their families are going through. May God keep their souls. I met Dr. Omane during the transitional team when my previous organization appeared before him. The respect he gives to professionalism, the way he would talk to you, the way he would encourage you to do that which is right, just for God and country, is something I remember him for. And so are the other fallen heroes. May their souls rest in peace. George, coming back to whether or not it is the last straw, this should not have been the last straw. The last straw came long ago. And it's illegal. So if it is illegal, deal with it. We have laws. Our challenge as a country is our inability to enforce the laws. We don't need a lot of laws. We don't need a lot of policies. We have already declared mining as legal or illegal. The legal ones have been regulated. The illegal ones, when you engage in it, we have to deal with you according to law. The problem we have created for ourselves, which we have to resolve, is how to operationalize the law. The business of illegal mining, if we are able to fully depoliticize it and we go the full haul of implementing the laws against illegal mining, within 2 months we will be able to resolve the issue. We'll be able to clear it. Except that any attempt to fully enforce the law would be faced with challenges because you, the person leading the enforcement, will be roasted. You, the government leading the full enforcement, you will be threatened. And not threatened as if they will come and threaten you in your house. They will threaten you with the next elections. So that is the challenge. The political expediency bit of handling this Galamsey issue is our challenge as a nation. If government and all Ghanaians, we would be in unison and bite the bullet and say that enough is enough. This should be a wake-up call. Let us crack the whip. Let us implement the laws. I think we'll make a headway. It is not as if we've lost it. We can resolve it. We know how to resolve it. The challenge is that we are all playing ostrich. We are dancing around the issue. The laws have declared them illegal. When they engage in it, what do? Apply the rules, deal ruthlessly with them, and that will be it. If we fail to do that, then that is the challenge. Because the political expediency bit is what is affecting us. Yeah. Take the politics out of it and then deal with them. If you don't take the politics out of it, if NDC is in power and they deal with them, they will threaten NDC with the next elections. And then NDC will say that, well, let me hold on. NPP comes to power, they want to deal with them, they threaten them with the next elections. Take the politics out, apply the rules, and that will be it. If we fail to apply the rules, you can make laws, you can come out with policies, you can come out with programs. All of them will have to be implemented by the political elites. So let us crack the whip. That will resolve the problem. Okay,
all right. I mean, I'm going to start my second stretch of questions with you. Still, on this time around, focusing on solutions. And Dr. Eric Odrosa, you talked about depoliticizing it and applying the laws. I'm wondering whether these two will be enough, because some have also talked about having an alternative livelihood for them, because it's a whole industry. And would this be enough to stop them from going in there? This time around, solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. Finding alternative livelihood for them is not bad. Remember, we've had an alternative livelihood program in this country before. That program sought to provide an alternative livelihood for those who would want to willingly move out of the Galamsey business. When I say we should apply the rules are there. Declare it illegal and illegal properly, and tell them that I'll be the alternative solution, and then you go in there, you'll be in trouble. What is the alternative solution? It's a whole business cycle, value chain. Those who go deep down to do the digging, those who wash, those who buy, and the local economy. Create an alternative for them. One of the ways of creating the alternative is establishing what we call cooperatives, or even the community mining system that was introduced. Except that when you are creating this cooperative and community mining system, you try to help them to understand how you can transit from illegal to legal. Most of them do not understand it. Most of them thought that if you move them, increase their taxes, and they're going to lose something that they were getting.
Hello, Doc. Okay, I think we've lost him there. Let's get back to the studio here. We'll work on getting him back on the line. We're going to focus on solutions now. Doc, you talked about we having a dialogue, a strategic plan on how to deal with this. Also talked about the alternative livelihood program. With that, just as Dr. Eric Odrosa said, we've had such in place some time ago, but that didn't work. So what's going to be different around it this time?
You know, George, as we grow as a country, we must recognize our stage of growth. Okay? We must really recognize that. Ghana is an extremely young country, extremely young. And I look at it from even a political standpoint. This republic is an extremely young republic. Both political parties have had a fair share of it, okay? 16 years, and John Dramani Mahama is continuing the other leg of it. So it's an extremely young country. For me, our policies must be strong and firm. I want to zero in on policies because it's policies that we will stand upon to be able to implement the solutions that we have, which is why I direct the issues very clearly to the National Development Planning Commission, the NDPC. The NDPC is an arm under the office of the president, and it's a policy arm that directs the president on policy directions and directives. And those are very clear and very key. For me, regulatory must be looked at. Policy reforms must be looked at. We must also enforce the law, like Dr. Osai is saying. Why do we have laws and we are afraid to implement the laws? Why do we have laws and we are afraid to implement the laws? You know, and we must also look at our protocols. This is a national platform, so let me say it. I said it on another network. George, there is nowhere in this country and around the world where you would have a minister for defense, a deputy national security coordinator, the topmost of our security couples, all on a flight, and we don't have any other accompanying choppers with them. I mean, I get surprised. When I made this statement, people said, why are you trying to elevate Ghana to the standards of the West? Why not? But why not? Okay, George, why not? Why can't we, the protocols we have on ground, and I'll say it again, because it's what I believe in. The protocols we have on ground. When the president, John Dramani Mahama, is moving, there's an ambulance by it. It's part of the protocols. So why is it that we have a minister for defense? We have a deputy national security coordinator. And I've asked the question and I'll ask again, because I might not be in the room when they are having the investigations and the questions. What intelligence eluded our country at the day of their travel?
What do you mean, what intelligence?
Yes, George, and I'll ask again. How is it that we have a minister for defense on board a flight? We have a deputy national security coordinator on board a flight, assuming that they would arrive safely, and they did not. So what intelligence might have eluded the entire security apparatus? And George, and I'm speaking this...
And when you say what intelligence might have eluded that, are you saying that they could have foreseen that something might have happened or gathered some information?
George,
I just want to understand what you mean by what intelligence.
I will clarify.
Yes.
When we were in government,
yes,
I was a spokesperson on governance and security.
Yes.
There were issues that I knew that the Ghanaian people did not know, even at my level. There were issues that the Minister for National Security knew that I did not know. There were issues that the President knew that I did not know, because security conversations travels in levels. Okay? We were told that the people that were to travel was the #1 gentleman of the country. That was what we were told. We were also told that the ruling party's chairperson was also supposed to be on board. Okay, fair enough, they didn't travel. But the Minister for Defense was on board a flight. The Deputy National Security Coordinator was also on board a flight. Of course, it's an accident. I can understand and appreciate that. But I do not want to conclude, especially because, and I'm guided by...
I'm glad you say you don't want to conclude.
Yes.
I want you to clarify the whole intelligence bit you're talking, yes.
Especially because we are surrounded by countries that are going through terror attacks. surrounded by countries that have been destabilized democratically by military juntas. Peace comes at an expense.
And Doc, if you don't want to conclude,
let me raise.
Just hold on. I'll allow you to raise it. If you don't want to conclude, it will also be a bit nice if you don't, no, but create a scenario, a situation that might create an impression.
I'm asking questions.
Well, sometimes the questions are needed.
George, we don't live in isolation of the issues around this continent. Let's be fair.
I agree.
We don't live in isolation of the issues that happens around this continent. We have always said Ghana is a safe haven. Ghana is enjoying peace. George, our peace comes at a cost.
Yes.
Our peace comes at a cost. These are lives that we have lost. And I'm saying that, George, you see, it's an accident. I put that on one side. There is no security intelligence that must aid anybody in this country at the highest level. That's all I'm saying.
What you mean by the intelligence?
George, that's why I'm saying that, you see, the Honorable Member of Parliament is here.
Yes.
He is in Parliament.
Yes.
I am not in Parliament.
Yes.
There are issues in the Chamber of Parliament that is not made public at committee level. Okay. Honorable, am I lying? Good. So, because I'm not a member of Parliament yet, because I'll go there, of course, and I am not sitting in any committee, I can only, by extrapolation, assume.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. George, this is Ghana.
Yes.
It's the safest haven.
Yes.
In this sub-region. We have borders. We are surrounded by countries that have been destabilized. Everybody has seen Ghana as a safe haven and a stable country. I will not be in the room when they are asking the questions. And I'm certain that the questions I'm asking are questions people would also ask. That is what I'm asking. George, you see, if they had not traveled, and I said this, that I'm not sure this is the first time that Dr. Mane Boama is using the chopper since he assumed office from January to date.
I've been listening to Honorable Mutaka. Says that he's not someone who likes traveling with in the air like that, especially with a chopper. He's not that person. So
this is not the first time. I'm certain that the Ghana Armed Forces has used this chopper the entire year, periodically.
Yeah.
So ideally, we would assume that the chopper would leave the Kotoka International Airport or the Air Force Base and arrive at its destination. But this time around, it did not. Okay?
Okay.
That's why I'm saying and asking the questions I'm asking.
Okay.
Okay? I'm asking the questions because...
Let's move back to our solutions. Then we can...
my solutions are very simple.
Yes.
Why are we afraid to implement laws when we have it?
Okay. All right.
Why are people doing illegal mining and destroying water bodies and people are dying and babies are being born deformed and people are making money? Why should somebody become rich at the expense of someone's life?
So laws. Okay.
Laws must be enforced. Number two, the National Development Planning Commission. The President, John Dramani Mahama, must immediately commission the National Development Planning Commission to ensure that they bring out policy reforms that can bring an end to these illegalities.
Okay.
These are my two statements.
Great. Honorable, solutions, how we can resolve this.
George, before then, I think that it's absolutely important for me to acknowledge that when it comes to security matters, I defer completely to my good friend, Doc. But I think that at this rate, we must defer issues that had to do with why and how this particular accident had happened, given the fact that committee is at work and that, we may be putting the cart before the horse, not to take anything away from him. I acknowledge also that we are at a critical juncture at this point, following a successful farewell given to two of our fallen comrades, and by, I think, Friday we'll do another state burial service for the remaining ones. Yeah. The next stage will be very difficult because we need to ask all the probing questions. We must be guided by science, and I know that is the angle he's being, driven into. A society that will not be guided by science will repeatedly be thrown into a state of anarchy like we are witnessing. And so science will tell us how this particular accident possibly had happened. We must ask those questions, but I believe that where we are now, asking now may not be the best. We may probably be interfering into the work of the committee that has been put in place. That is the appeal I wish to make to my good friend. You see, because look, no matter your sophistication, the extent to which you embrace and are being driven by science, you realize that nature sometimes can conspire and things of this nature can happen. And you have very little to do with it. Take, for instance, the US, the September 11 attack, the terror attack. I mean, it couldn't be the case that their national security went to sleep. But sometimes that is the end to which mortals, can operate. There are certain things that before you realize that you are on top of your game, there are others who are even miles ahead of you. But back to solution, I think talking about how to help Galamsey, there is no one-stop shop in our approach. We must adopt multifaceted approach. And this time around, we must be rigorous. Okay. We must be emphatic in the application of the law. The enforcement regime is key. That, for me, is the final nail. Because, you see, day in, day out, no matter your level of security, armed robbers will operate. But what will make you to be on top of your game is the security network that you have, enforcement. And so, for this particular menace, the government must sit up. All of us must help. Parliament, the judiciary, the court system, and of course the executive. When we properly give enforcement its proud of place, I believe strongly that we'll be able to make meaningful headway. Okay. But you see, there is an angle. Increasingly, the indigents are feeling that gold is no longer benefiting them. Okay. And that you have the multi-companies, the giant companies that are into mining. They are making all the money and ferrying it to their respective countries. And so you notice that there's also been an increasing trend where locals are invading properly acquired territory for mining by these giant companies. It is about time government considers, and I believe it's probably going to be one of the ways, that you put together several of these Galamseyers, you give them needed education, then they form cooperative, which was what was going to be launched anyway. But I believe that an enhanced version, where government of Ghana and of course the financial space can give them huge capital bailout, so that once they are able to go into responsible mining and have value for what it is that they are doing illegally, I believe that they will not feel that the nation has turned its back on them. That way, we are properly able to partition our environment to which areas support the growth of food and agriculture, and which areas we leave for mining, which areas we designate for ecotourism, and which areas that we leave for others, so that we have a comprehensive society that supports life and again gives livelihood to our folks. It is extremely important. And I'm also confident that by the time we roll out the details of the 24-hour economy, that is where the issue about job. Okay. You see, there are lots of youngsters. There are a lot of youngsters.
I was thinking that has been launched.
It's been launched.
So what rollout again do you want?
No, the reality is that the secretariat is now being, doing the fine details as to how to map up those areas that will go into agriculture and all this, the assistance package to give them and everything. Okay. Those are the things that I'm talking about. But you see, because you see, there are a lot of youngsters who are in these Galamsey areas. Some are Okada riders. They carry these miners deep into the forest. And they tell you for a whole week, they are not even able to save 100 cedis. And so if you can get sources of livelihood for these people under the pillar of 24-hour economy, I believe that the trend, as we are witnessing now, will be reversed. Okay. And the earlier we do that, the better we channel our human resource into a more meaningful territory for the production that we seek to make.
So, you said earlier that we need to change our approach. So still we didn't get in solutions. What should be the new approach now?
Okay, George, I think quite a lot has been said already, and there are a few nuggets I want to pick on. I mean, I think Doc here did mention something about intelligence. I know he was talking about in relation to the flight and everything that happened and all of that, or more. But I want to bring this discussion of intelligence to how we have applied intelligence as part of the enforcement regime in addressing this environmental crime that we are confronted with. I've always said that if there's one challenge in this country that we have failed to apply our intelligence systems and regime to it, it's Galamsey, dealing with this environmental crime. We know how to use intelligence to arrest people or doing things on social media and all of that, but we've never applied intelligence to arresting people who are really financing the Galamsey, who are really moving in the equipment and all of that. We have failed to completely do that. We have NIB at every MMDA in this country. Why don't we know the persons driving the Galamsey at this level? That for me is a big, and if there's anything we are going to change when it comes to Galamsey, this is where we should tackle it. The intelligence. We are failing to use intelligence. Then there's also the issue of accountability. We have the MMDAs, we have the EPAs, we have the Water Resources Commission and all of that. They're either at regional or district level and all of that. Things are happening. There are officers on the ground, police commanders on the ground. Galamsey is happening in places and nobody is dealing with it. Who is going to be accountable for that? There is a DC, there's an MCE, superintendent of illegal mining activity in their jurisdiction, and nobody is doing it about it. So we need to start applying accountability. Every office holder is accountable to the state on how they are really ensuring that as a country, we rid ourselves of this environmental crime. Now, the other thing I want to say, the government has launched what you call the Responsible Cooperative Mining Skills Development.
What was launched a week ago?
Yes, what was launched a week ago. I think this, for us, I've always said that, look, we already have a big crisis on our hands. We should have dealt with it before we look at something else. We have not done that. We are bringing on something new. For me, if you look at the program, in its substance and essence, it's already almost like the community mining. But of course, I've also identified a few other distinctions that tells us, look, this program, if it's implemented as is in the document, then it should bring about some good changes. I mean, that's the only thing. The clause here is as is. We know we always have a problem. We have very beautiful policies, beautiful laws, and as Doc said, we have beautiful laws, but we are not implementing them.
But you said that it looks like community mining.
It looks like, yes, there are several similarities.
But again, if you listen to some of our traditional leaders,
yes,
their comments about community mining, some of them even said that community mining is another form of Galamsey. It's just that they've given it a nice name. Of which we can say that it might end up just as community mining also.
So if you read the policy document, it talks about its leveraging on the learnings and experiences from community mining to give us something better. So there's still some similarities in terms of the way they are structured. But of course, there are some other good things as well. There are some clear distinctions between, and I think the Honorable MP did mention about having a fund to support these. And this cooperative mining actually sets up a dedicated cooperative development fund, which cooperative miners can tap into and access, which was not in place when we had community mining. Also, this one looks at some benefit sharing arrangement that is already clearly community oriented. So there are some differences, and that must be acknowledged. But what I'm saying here is that, look, if we really want to bring about changes, we don't have to apply this just as we have been doing everything else, casually, without compliance and enforcement, without any due diligence. There are very excellent provisions in this Responsible Cooperative Mining Policy document. It must work as it is. Otherwise, we fail to have access and also mine. Because as you have seen, the way this mining thing has been going, the MPP were in power, their people were in the place, they actually had control. There's a new government, they have come to substitute them, and introducing this program is more of a way to bring on their people to also really completely, take control. So we need to be very careful in the way.
Those engaged now are members of the NDC.
Of course. I mean, right now, if you go to the field, we also have real control.
Yeah.
other people connected to the government. Their parties in power, and so that is how it is played out there on the ground. So this is why I'm saying that we need to ensure that we improve compliance and every due diligence that we have indicated in this policy document. Otherwise, we're just going to be talking. And this sacrifice will mean nothing for all of us. So for me, if you are going to go forward, again, let me just add, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey issued a statement. We indicated that the call for a targeted state of emergency is still an imperative, and this government should seriously consider that. We also requested that, look, LI 2462 and this amendment should be repealed. There are certain people also connected to government, politically exposed persons, people from the previous government and in the current government who have been identified and connected to this environmental crime that must be prosecuted to serve as deterrent. We cannot treat this issue as if we are in normal time. We are no longer in normal time. And this is how we should go about it.
Okay, all right. We'll have to leave this stretch of conversation here, and then we'll move to our next leg of conversation. So my understanding is that, Darryl, you take leave of us. Yes, so we'll be talking next issues concerning prophecies and a directive coming from the Office of the Presidential Envoy that all prophecies, I would say, should be channeled towards the envoy there. There have been lots of discussions to that effect, whether it's a means of controlling prophecies or not, or it's a means of controlling the spirit of the Lord or not. When Honorable was speaking, he talked about we need to be guided by science. Where do we draw the line? Science and then spirituality. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and we've been joined by Zoom by Apostle Emmanuel Tete, who is the General Secretary for the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. I'm going to start this conversation with him. I still have Dr. Palgrave Wachidankwa here with us. I still have Frank Ifiriye, who's the Honorable Member of Parliament for Afajato South, and then Dr. Eric Odrosa is also with us on Zoom. But let's start off with Apostle Emmanuel Tete, who is the General Secretary for the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. Apostle, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, George, and my colleague panelists, both in the studio and on Zoom.
All right.
And to Ghanaians, yeah.
And thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thanks for your time. Apostle, starting with you, have you received the communication from the envoy, the presidential envoy, if I put it as such?
Yes. And talking about the communication from the envoy, I guess you're talking about the letter that was talking about review of prophecy and the need for it to be sent to the presidency.
Yes.
I guess that's what we're dealing with at the moment.
Exactly, that's what that's what we're dealing with.
I received that communication during the weekend. I think it was on Sunday, and so Monday we've initiated some work on it. But yes, I received it I saw it on Monday.
Okay. Yeah. And what's your response to it? What do you make of it?
Yes, I'll approach it from two ends. You know, being the General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, my first response, having received that communication and read through, my first response was to send it to my Executive Council Chair, that is Apostle Eric Nyamiche, and the other members of the Executive Council. Hopefully, we'll have a meeting, an Executive Council meeting, and at that meeting, we will discuss this particular letter and then put out an official position or response to it. But that pending, I think one can also look at it in terms of the content or the intention with which that letter came. And from that position, yes, one could understand, what is driving such a letter, being written, as in the way some men of God, and for that matter, women of God, and what they say is a prophetic message they've received from God. The way it is handled, I think it leaves much to be desired, in the public space. And I think that is where the letter is coming from. That is what it seeks to address.
All right.
And so that is my initial response to the letter.
Okay. You just said something that some men of God, and quoting you, what they say is a prophetic message from God, unquote. Does it mean that there's some bit of hesitation in here as to exactly where that message is coming from? The description given, what they say, they say is a prophetic message from God.
Yes, there is. You see, because the thing with prophecy is that, like the Bible says, we see in part and we prophesy in part. And so if I get up and come out to say that, God has spoken to me to do A, B, C, D, it will take some men of God or women of God, some ministers who are matured and well-versed with scripture and the workings of the ministry to, if you like, judge the prophecy that I say I'm making, and so I am saying that God spoke to them. Judging it is a second level, and that is why I'm careful not to affirm whatever they're saying. And I was saying that because they say God has spoken to them. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Again, reading the letter, is there any sense that there's a bit of control coming in there as to what to say and what not to say in the name of prophecy?
Okay, so if I will respond to that, my point will be, personally, I had a bit of a concern with the statement in the letter to the effect that the supposed prophecy concerning a public figure and maybe concerning the state, the Jubilee House, so that it will be reviewed and the necessary action taken. Now, that who are those going to review it? Like I said earlier, I'm sure there is good intention, but the way it is being presented is creating difficulty. Who are the ones going to review it? And I wouldn't brush every minister, as in clergy in the country, with the same brush or, if you like, same paint. Because in our churches, I am with the Apostolic Church, Ghana. In our churches, we have leaders who judge prophecies and who listen to it, and they determine, as the Bible tells us in 1 John chapter 4, verses 1 and 2, that we should prove all the spirits, we should test them. And so it lends itself to this review. But question is, who is going to do the review in the Flagstaff House or in the Jubilee House? That part, gives a bit of concern. And what is the procedure? What is the process? And so that is the part I have difficulty with on the personal level.
All right. So your challenge mainly has got to do with the review aspects that was in the letter. But to ask you a direct question.
And then who is going to do the review?
And who is going to do the review?
Yeah.
Okay. Should that be a concern at all, especially who is going to do the review?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Yes, because you see, we know that the Jubilee House is the place of governance. I mean, at the very apex of it. And so,
Oops. Anyway, we've lost our Apostle there. We'll quickly work on the line and reestablish contact with Apostle Emmanuel Tete, who is the General Secretary for the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. As he said, yes, he understands the whole concern that the letter issued to them is about, but there's certain aspect of which he was explaining to us concerning the review of the prophecies as to who is going to do that review if another pastor gives a prophecy. And that was the line on which he was answering my question where we lost him there. But let's get back to the studio here. Doc, he speaks on governance issues, he speaks on security issues. He's also a lecturer, but he also wears another cap. He's a pastor, he's a man of God. So gladly, I'll move with you in here. I mean, after the incident, we've seen lots of things, especially if you're on social media. And to be honest, it becomes very depressing and coming from men of God and saying lots of things. Your initial thoughts and the whole idea of the letter to that the presidential envoy sent to the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council.
You know, George,
yes.
I have been...
don't mind me.
George, I've been very deeply concerned. You know, Honorable Efriye said he's not seen me for the past 19 years. And he's right. Because the moment we were done with University of Ghana, I went into full-time Christian missions. Worked with a lot of organizations and traveled around.
Before you went to the UN? Oh.
Yes. Don't bring any of those in. You know, George, I think that God is doing something.
Okay.
In this country. And I want to plead with the fathers of the land, from the Ghana Pentecostal and Christian and Charismatic churches to the National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, to, I think they have the Independent Prophets Association as well.
Independent Prophets Association?
I think so. And then they also have the Christian Council of Ghana. All these economical bodies, I want to plead with them that I feel God is doing something. And I'll tell you what God is doing. I feel that God is giving Ghana an opportunity to clean up the mess.
How?
How? Because, you see, we've been having a lot of challenges in this country where we are not too sure who is called by God and picked by God as a servant. We read from the scriptures very clearly that there must be a community of witnesses that must affirm your gift. Okay? We read from the scriptures. And I am a Jesus freak because I love Jesus. And I would want to always do what Jesus would do. And that's why I say that I feel that it's a clear opportunity for the Christian economical fathers to help Ghana clean up the mess. What is the mess? The mess is that we don't have a guided system in this country. We don't have a regulatory system in this country. So I can put on my phone and as led by God, I can speak the very mind of God and the mandate of God, and I will not err.
But can the spirit be regulated?
Hold on, I'm coming.
Okay, all right.
I'm building a point.
Okay.
Okay? I can put on my camera and speak the way you are called by God. You go to teachings. We learn, as a theologian, we learn that when Jesus had his bar mitzvah, and I lived in Israel for 3 years, Bar mitzvah is where Jesus had an opportunity to open the scroll. That's where he read the prophecy of Isaiah in Luke, that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, at the age of 12. At the age of 12, every Jew or every Jewish boy will go to Bar Mitzvah. That is where he enters into the temple and opens the scroll.
In Israel.
In Israel. It's the same thing that we Catholics and Anglicans and Methodists will do confirmation.
Confirmation, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So we learn as theologians that it took Jesus 18 years to prepare, from age 12 to age 30. It took him 18 years to prepare before he began his public ministry. And we learn as theologians that Jesus did public ministry for 3.5 years. John, when you read Matthew chapter 21, verse 12, and I'll read it from the NIV, it says that Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling those. And this is the words of Jesus. It is written. He said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. Now, living in Israel and seeing the temple court. The temple court is the outside of where the temple is. Jesus got angry with the fact that people were merchandising outside of the temple. And he said that you have turned my house into all of those things that he said. That's why I'm saying that I feel that what is happening now with the special envoy that the president has appointed, the letter he's written with the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, God is giving all the economical bodies an opportunity to clean up the system and the mess. I got very scared and alarmed in this country when on one day I saw that somebody was an idol worshiper. And on that Sunday, the person has been called by God. And none of the economical bodies could raise up an alarm in this country.
But who can question the spirit?
Oh, please, George, please.
No,
George, no. Look, we have a lot of charlatans in this country that are not called by God. And the men of God know it. The Spirit of God does attest. George, I can tell you, the Spirit of God does attest. Why is it that we'll be caught up when Jesus comes? It's because the Spirit of God that is in us is the same Spirit that is in God. So if today, as I'm speaking, if Jesus arrives and all three of us here are righteous, we'll be caught up and we'll be gone. Those who are not righteous, the Spirit of God will not be caught up with them. Why do we have a mirror? We have a mirror because it's a reflection of us. That is why when you read 1 John 2:6, it says that if indeed you say you're a disciple of Christ, you owe it as a personal debt to live as he lived and to walk as he walked. Let's ask ourselves a critical question in this country. Do these people who profess to be called by God live like Jesus lived and walk as Jesus walked? Please, George, do you know that when I began public service in terms of public ministry, I seized a lot of standing behind the pulpit because I hold in high esteem the sacredness of the Bible, and I hold in high esteem the sacredness of God's calling. But because I have become involved in politics, when I get invitation and coming to preach,
which will then cloud the message,
and which will then cloud the message, so I stay away. So now I preach to my household. My wife and my children is my local church. I preach to them. Yes, yesterday before we slept, we had our devotion, and we read from Luke chapter 1, verses 1 to 25. And when the angel Gabriel said that he stands in the very presence of God and he has come to give good news to Zachariah because the wife is going to take seed, when he asked, how can these things be? Look, George, we can test the spirits of God. And we can know, I can tell you and name them. Why are we afraid? That is what I'm saying. Let
me ask you this. I mean, still with the cup of on as a pastor. So if a prophet says that I've seen this and this and this and this and this, and it happens, can we draw the conclusion that that's a prophet of God?
We can't draw a conclusion that it's a prophet of God. George, I mean, catch me. Here that we live here on this earth. This earth is controlled by the king of Persia. We know it in the Bible. This earth is, that's why Jesus Christ said that this world is not our own. For those of us that are true Christians and discipled as such, we know we are pilgrims on this earth.
But then why then did God put us on this earth?
Hold
But
on.
anyway, it's another conversation.
Hold on.
Yeah.
We know that we are pilgrims on this earth. Most of the testimonies that have come with the passage of the people, many of them have said Murtala Muhammad is an astute Muslim. When I heard the MP from Pusiga, he said Murtala Muhammad is an astute Muslim.
Yeah.
And I've seen social media renditions of him reciting the Quran with his family.
Yeah. You don't even have to tell. I perfectly know that. Excellently know that.
Good.
Yeah.
So clearly, you see, if you look at where we are going to, there is no way we can say that we cannot identify people that are doing wrong in the name of God. And I said that, look, this world we are in is controlled by the king of Persia. The devil can give prophecies, and it will come to pass.
Okay.
That is why when you read the account of Job, and theologians have stated, if you do a lot of eschatological studies in theology, theologians have stated that the book of Job is like, theologians have stated that there are two schools of thoughts. It's either the book of Job is a reality of what happened to Job, or it's an imagination. Okay? But I don't want to go into the details of it. But let's look at the book of Job as a reality. That is why when God was there and the devil he said, where have you been? He said, I've been roaming around. So this world is controlled by the king of Persia.
Okay.
But Jesus Christ said that you are in this world, but you are not of the world. That is why we have had prophets that have lasted the span of time. And we have had prophets whose seasons have been short. That's why I'm saying that I feel that what is happening now in Ghana, with the President John Dramani Mahama setting up a special, when I saw it, I was glad. The special envoy on interfaith and economical bodies, I was glad. Because we need it.
Why?
Oh, in same CC. In same CC. Oh, George, yes.
I'll come to you.
The general secretary said that it's not a Jubilee house, but when God makes kings, okay, God brings order. Yeah. That is why when I saw the special envoy, I was glad. I don't know Honorable Elvis.
He's a God of order.
I've not seen him. I've not engaged him. I've not even met him before.
Yeah.
But when I saw the letter, I prayed for him. Because whatever issues that happen around the world, the president can be able to send him. Okay? And I'm not sure he will work in isolation of any of these economical bodies. I'm not sure he will work in isolation. That is why I'm saying that this is a clarion call on all the fathers of the land who are truly called by God to help sanitize the system. And I conclude with this. George, we have the Apostles' Creed.
Yes.
That Apostles' Creed has lasted the length of time till today. We recite the Apostles' Creed. We have the Nicene Creed. We also have the Trinitarian Creed. All these creeds have come about as a result of the fact that it must bring order. I remember I entered into a church. The man of God, after reciting the Apostles' Creed, you know, when we said, I believe in the Universal Catholic Church, or I believe in the Holy Catholic Church, people don't understand it. It's not the Catholic Church as we know it. The Catholic means universal. Yeah. I entered into a church and the man of God had removed the word Catholic from the Apostles' Creed.
No, that's not Apostles' Creed then.
Look, George, you can imagine what I did to him. I lambasted him to the core. Because, you see, anybody who does that is called euthanasia. Euthanasia is extra biblical revelations. And, you see, there are people in this country, I will not mention names, but what they use, most people are using the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch is not canonized. What we have, the 66 books of the Bible, is what has been canonized and been given to us.
What do you mean canonized?
Canonized means that is what God has considered sacred and written and for us to use. But there are other books, that carry similar power that has not been canonized for our use. I know, when I pray, I know men of God in this country who use extra biblical revelations for their works. I know it. I'm telling you. Some of them use the book of Enoch. I've read the book of Enoch. If you use that, you are calling sorcery and powers, divinations. Okay? So let me conclude with this. I want to make an appeal. And I'm making this appeal because I've had conversations with most of the senior economical members in this country. And I will state this in passing. The Bank of Ghana, or the president appointed Professor Gachi as the person to set up the Islamic banking.
Yeah.
The Bank of Ghana started having meetings. I wrote a piece. It was published. When I wrote a piece and it was published on Ghana Web and other networks, I got calls from Vatican and other places. People asking me why I am against Islamic banking. I said, I'm not against Islamic banking.
Including the Vatican?
Oh, of course. Because
asking why you were against it.
Okay. And I said that, you see, I'm not against Islamic banking. I am against the fact that the Bank of Ghana wants to have an Islamic banking that is religious-based, including Sharia law. We know in this country it's a secular state.
Okay.
When I wrote that piece, I can tell you on record, the Ghana Pentecostal Council reached out to me and said they are reviewing my piece and they want my thoughts on it. That's why I'm saying that in this country, we don't have bold, discipled, apologetic Christians. If we have bold, discipled, apologetic Christians, the economical bodies will start calling out the men of God that are not called by God. And they will not be afraid of it.
But there's this thing in Akan. You see, obi some now nyame, and also be fair in nyame. Now, my tree is that bad though. But
John, I know where you are going
to it when the person was being called by God.
Let's read the Acts of the Apostles well.
Yeah.
There was a man called Bar Jesus.
Yeah.
When he came, look, John.
Let me pick. Let me yes. And he said something. John, we were having our conversation on Galamsey that we need to be guided by science. Let's go on. Yes.
Yeah. So, thank you so much. I think it's important to state that this nation is a secular nation, and the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has absolutely no appetite, as it were, to regulate. The word is regulate. Religious secularism, we are very much aware of the fact that the state must delineate or separate itself from religion, religious institution. There should be no interference, and in much the same way, there must not be favoritism based on religion. It is also a fact that when Jesus was approached by the Pharisees and the Herodians, with that question that, look, should we pay tax to Caesar? His words were that, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's,
and render to God what is
and
God's.
give to God what is God. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's government acknowledges the role that individual citizens ought to play to state. Our civic responsibilities, we are very much aware of it. Much the same way we know that we have our religious obligations. And so if you have religion and governance meeting at a certain point in time, then what you expect is an avenue where there must be unity, cooperation, and partnership. Not too long ago, there was a particular prophet or woman of God, or what you choose to call it, where I understand there was a prophecy in her church that brings so much money, and then we'll pray, and that money will be multiplied. People complied, church members complied, and their monies, went down the drain. Bottom line, the issue had to come to the attention of government through the court system. And so you cannot separate religion entirely from what the state does. So what you need to do is to cut a fine balance between where the boundary exists. And so the attempt by His Excellency, the President, to establish a special desk and to elect a special envoy for interfaith and economical relations, I think that is a step in the right direction, as it were, to harmonize all these religious sects. Christianity, Muslims, African traditional, this thing, give all of them perfect hearing and a common platform to do what would be in the interest of state. Mind you, every responsible Ghanaian in this country belongs to one religion or the other. And so it will be out of naivety for someone to suggest that government should stay completely off it. When government has also got a responsibility to act in a way that benefits the same citizenry. And so the mandate of this particular office is not to regulate or not to get prophecies and say, look, we are interpreting prophecy and that you do not have the right to prophesy. In the first place, what is prophecy? It's a special divine communication from above, and it's intended for a purpose. And so whether the prophet or an ordinary individual, in the case of Joseph dreamed, and his dream was treated with a sense of seriousness, where they averted a calamity which otherwise would have befallen Egypt. So the essence of prophecy is what? To foretell. And so when we sit in this country and incidents happen, incidents have battered the image of this country, incidents that have almost so-called men of God coming out to say that, oh, they have foreseen this, they have prophesied. Whom have you sent your prophecy to? And so you notice that the letter that has emanated from Honorable Elvis's office wasn't talking about prophecies at individual level. Prophecy that concerns you, George, or Doc over here, or myself.
Okay.
Those are individual prophecies. The underlying word is that prophecies that sit at the heart of what affects the entire nation, our governance structure, national security architecture, the citizenry, everything. We must have an avenue where the man at the center of the prophecy will be listening to. Tell us the details of your prophecy like Joseph has done. So tell us again what God has communicated to you that we must do. Every prophecy is linked with a set of religious intercessory activities that must otherwise be discharged to avert, if a calamity, to avert it. To enjoy, if it's a blessing, you must equally pass through certain methodical processes in order to enjoy a blessing that has been prophesied. And so the essence of this office is to state that, look, let's harmonize all these prophecies, those that concerns the state, and so that we do not sit unconcerned if indeed God has spoken to an anointed man of God that this particular calamity that resulted in the death of 8 of our state's Galamsey men, if indeed God had revealed, then that revelation was intended to redeem. What happened? Maybe the man never had got a listening ear. People say, look, but we have ministry for local government, religious affairs. Look, the establishment of that particular desk at the presidency signifies that much as government has the authority to act for and on behalf of the people, government headed by the president is well much aware of the fact that ultimate authority belongs to God.
Yes.
And that we must be guided by science so that we avoid human error, but we must know that ultimately divine direction from above is what gives us the blessing, is what gives us the progress that we are seeking to get.
All right, just before wrapping up, let's go back to Zoom. We have Apostle Emmanuel Tete back on the line, who is the General Secretary for the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. Apostle, good morning once again. We had some challenges in there, but thanks a lot for your patience. Yes, you were explaining to us whether there's a fine line in there where you could assess control.
Exactly, George, and I'm sitting here on tenterhooks, listening to my colleagues, my brothers in the studio, and the presentations they are making. And I'm not sure they are very aware of what they really end up. Let me call to attention with Dr. Palgrave, Bachidankwa, that, you see, we operate a constitution. And in this constitution, there is freedom of worship, there is freedom of religious association. Dr. Palgrave speaks as well. The ecumenical councils can decide to determine who is right religiously and who is wrong, and then they crack the whip. That space, that authority doesn't lie with the ecumenical councils. We, in the Constitution of Ghana, I think chapter 7, in the chapter 7 and the I'm getting confused between chapters.
That's okay. That's fair enough. Yes.
Of, scripture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then section 21 of the Constitution of Ghana, there is freedom of worship. And if you permit me, George, I just want to read the 21 1C, 1C, or if I start from the B, actually, it says that all persons shall have the, which shall include academic freedoms. Then the C says, freedom to practice any religion and to manifest such practice, So within the context of our Constitution, is freedom, religious practice and association. You know, in as much as the ecumenical councils will be sitting with a lot of concern, we are also being guided by the Constitution of the Republic. And so seeing somebody doing the wrong thing, you can't just get up and try to impugn the person's rights to religious practice, to religious association. So that is one of the response I'll give.
But Apostle, on the bit of Apostle, on
Yes.
the bit of freedom which you talked about in the Constitution of Ghana, but there's also an understanding that freedom comes with a lot of responsibility. So freedom doesn't stand in isolation.
I am coming there if you allow me, please.
Okay, please do.
You see, the second leg of the point is that government is ultimately responsible for every single thing that happens within our jurisdiction as a country and as a state. And so in that sense, government has the ultimate responsibility to make sure that what is happening in the country is not something that is creating chaos and confusion. Now, it is within that context that the government can get into the space. I mean, the other gentleman, Honorable Free, I think as I saw his name.
Yeah.
It is within that context that the government can surely establish this office at the seat of government. I agree with that. But the point here is this, that to the best of my knowledge, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, in our governance system, and as Honorable Free again in the studio mentioned, Ghana is a secular country, it's a secular state, given that there are over 70% who identify with the Christian faith. We are constitutionally a secular state, and so there is separation of state and church, or if you like, government and church. And so the government as it is, does have that clerical role. The government doesn't have a clerical function. It is okay that the office of government will want to find a way of sanitizing the religious environment. But the question I was making initially is that if the seat of government is talking about reviewing prophecies that concern public figures and that concern this, there may have been a certain structure put in place at the seat of government. We are not aware of that. And so that was the point I was raising, that as it is now, we are not sure who in the seat of government is going to do the review. Who in the seat of government, what process is it going to be taken through? Prophecies are not to be taken into governance. If in my church there's a prophecy about any public figure, the least I will do is first to commit prayer to it as a minister of God. I call some very credible Christians also around me, share with them, we commit to prayer. There is a revelation, there is a prophecy. We commit prayer, we pray. We do this every day. We pray for the government, we pray for the president, we pray for ministers of state to avert calamities, for progress of governance and prosperity of the country. But it shouldn't be the case that government will now take up fully the responsibility of, if you like, determining prophecy, as in the right or wrong of it, and what to do with it. I think government is taking too much on its hands.
All right. Okay. Apostle, just two quick questions, then we can wrap it up. Are all prophets members of the council?
Sorry?
Are all prophets members of the council?
Now, that is the other interesting point. Thanks for that question. You see, we have a number of ecumenical councils in the country. There's the Christian Council, there's the Catholic Bishops' Conference, there is the Ghana Pentecostal Charismatic Council, there's the National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, there's the Ghana Charismatic Bishops' Conference. There are a number of councils. Churches belong to different ecumenical councils. In fact, there are churches who don't belong to any ecumenical council also. So, for example, the Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, the churches within our fold, if one of our ministers is doing something contrary to our common doctrine as a council and our common faith, we can call that church leader to order. If the church leader is not part of our fold, at best we can send an advice. He is not mandated to listen to us, and we can't do anything about that situation. If he is within our fold, we can apply the necessary sanctions and call him to order. And so different churches are in different councils.
All right. Apostle, thank you very much. And
just a minute before Apostle leaves. Look, government has no appetite to regulate what you do, because His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is not a prophet. Elvis is not a prophet. What government is seeking to do is to work with you.
I'm very sure about that.
Yes. You see, respectfully, prophecies are not to be reactive. They are supposed to be proactive. If an accident has happened, and a prophet will come after the occurrence of the accident to say that, look, I have seen, or the prophecy has been revealed to me, then the question is that if there were a secretariat, could he have approached the secretariat so that the review process is not for Elvis or anyone at the presidency to say that, look, this one is false or this one is true. Tell us what is to be done so that at least in the interest of state, we are able to take the necessary action.
We'll leave it here.
But they are false prophets anyway.
And Apostle, we'll leave it here, and I'm sure we'll have further engagements too in the future. But thank you very much for your time. That's Apostle Emmanuel Tete, who's the General Secretary for the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. And his thoughts in there. And we're going to wrap up on this note. And I'm wrapping up on what happened on Wednesday. Today is exactly 1 week without unfortunate incidents. They were fathers, they were leaders, they were friends. They carried hope in their hearts and duty in their hands. But in the split second, the skies claimed them, and Ghana was left in mourning. Wives became widows, children became fatherless, all because of our quest for earthly riches and fame. We have buried Captain Mahama. We are now burying ministers and soldiers. How many more graves must we dig before we choose life over greed, river over gold, and then the future over destruction? This fight is no longer theirs, it is ours. It belongs to every Ghanaian who drinks from our rivers, we eat from our farmland, and dreams for our children's future. If August 6th fades into just another date in our national memory, then these 8 souls will have died absolutely in vain. And if we rise together with resolve, stronger than the lure of gold, than the sacrifice that will lead the path to our future, where Galamsey will become a history. The choice is ours, and the time